Just before the video starts, just a couple of apologies. First of all, my tie is not straight all the way through it. I've been editing it and it's been irritating me for the last half an hour while I've been doing that. And second of all, you can hear a buzzing sound in the background. That's because the ignition of the car wasn't quite turned off properly, i.e. it was turned off but some of the systems were still going. Anyway, on with the video. This week in Check Out This Spot on My Face, I should probably stop eating like a teenager. Banter! You may have noticed in the news this week that Sir Philip Green has refuted many claims against, or a single claim of many other claims of sexual and verbal assault by saying it was just banter. Now Twitter, which is something which I'm not really on and I don't really enjoy, actually, and for the purposes of research for this particular piece, came up with the best response to this. And that was that you don't actually get people to sign non-disclosure agreements or pay them loads of money over banter. So that's it, solved in 280 characters, because that's how it always works with Twitter. Who'd have thought that you could approach complicated and nuanced subjects in 280 characters and solve them all really well without resorting to verbal violence or anything like that? Such banter. Many bants. Very banterous. Wow. By the way, if you Google the meaning of doji, obviously that was a reference to the doji meme, you will find that a doji is actually a magistrate of either Venice or Genoa. If you're not sure how all of those sentences I've just said are connected, then don't worry. We're actually going to go back and talk about the word banter. According to the Oxford Living Dictionary, which you can find online, banter is a playful and friendly exchange of teasing remarks. Merriam-Webster's online dictionary echoes this by saying that banter is to speak or to address in a witty and teasing manner, or to speak and act playfully or wittily. Synonyms are repartee, fun, exchange, mockery, joking, japing, japery, jesting and kidding. Antonyms are flattery and praise, and amusingly, according to the thesaurus.com, work. I mean, I suppose if you're engaging in some kind of japery, then you are not working. Unless, of course, your work is actually japery, like you are a professional japerer. That's probably not a word. When I first started researching this word, I assumed it would be really easy. That banter is related to rackets or sport or, you know, an exchange or something. And then you realise that this word is unique within its context. That, hang on, I thought we used it for loads of things, but we only use it for this thing. It's sort of odd and interesting, isn't it? That something that seems so obvious and everyday, suddenly, when you think about it, is actually something that you don't really know anything about. My favourite example of this is when the BBC vox-popped the great British public a few years ago about what the meaning of a calorie was. Of course, really nobody actually knew what it actually is, even though it is something which is quite a fixation of our particular culture. There was a really great moment where they interviewed someone and that person, and as he was saying it, he realised what he'd said. He said, well, a calorie is a calorie, right? By the way, for the pedants out there, or for anyone who is just curious, a calorie is exactly the amount of energy it takes to heat 1 cubic centimetre of water by 1 degree. Top banter! Don't worry, that wasn't banter. That wasn't, I don't know what that was just a fact. It was just something that I said. Interestingly, banter has no clear etymology, although oddly, Wiktionary, and this is the only source that I could find which had stuck these two things together, seems to think that it's a variation of the old Gaelic word, or Gaelic word, more appropriately, for woman, i.e. it came from the act of speaking of men speaking about women, probably not in particularly nice way. The website Worldwide Words, which is quite difficult to say, has the best account. Citing a play by Thomas Dufay, it's D''Urfey, Dufay. Citing a play by Dufay in 1676, the quote is, banter him, Toby, "'Tis a conceited old scarab and will yield us excellent sport. Go play upon him a little, exercise thy wit." Banter then caught the ire of one Jonathan Swift, who wrote about it in unfavourable ways in a journal of the time called Tatler, which is no relation to the modern one. The modern one is named after the old one, and the old one only ran for 2 years in the 17th century. Sorry, I meant 18th century. I mean, it's all kind of the same, really, isn't it? History is just a great big mess of people doing stuff and then maybe taking credit for it, even though they probably didn't do it. But this, I mean, Jonathan did write this. In fact, interestingly, he didn't take credit for this article. Someone else did, and it was only later discovered that he'd written it. Anyway, Jonathan Swift wrote, "The third refinement observable in the letter I send you consists in the choice of certain words invented by some pretty fellows, such as banter, bamboozle, country put, and kidney, as it is there applied, some of which are now struggling for the vogue, and others are in possession of it. I have done my utmost for some years to put a stop the progress of mob and banter, but have been plainly borne down by numbers and betrayed by those who promised to assist me." Swift there demonstrating that in the 18th century, even in the 18th century, you can't keep a good meme down, even if you make your mates promise not to use it. Now here's the thing, going back to our definition earlier on, you may have remembered that I used the word friendly or good-natured. The words good-natured. The original meaning of banter is not actually that at all. It is to roast or ridicule someone in quite an aggressive way. Now, we've all enjoyed some quality banter with the lads, which I suggest to you has now become a genderless pronoun, and some of it has been aggressive in nature, but I suggest to you there is always a time and a place for this kind of behaviour, which I must say, as a human being, I've frequently misjudged in my lifetime. But I've really, I've said some pretty dumb things to people, and I will continue to say some pretty dumb things to people because I'm a human being. Years ago, when I was a waiter, one of my bosses called me his Marmite waiter because in his view, customers either loved or hated me. I mean, I guess that's not such a bad thing, I suppose. It's better than being invisible, I guess, maybe. I mean, it's certainly made for some interesting times, which is a Chinese curse, of course. Anyway, here's my point. Banter, in the old sense, was one-sided. It was abusive. I submit to you that Sir Phil Green has been unintentionally accurate about about using the word banter, about his alleged behaviour. Banter in the modern sense is two-sided. This is the important bit. It has to be two-sided. If you're just saying something to somebody and they're not quite taking it, that's not banter, that's you just saying something to somebody. Otherwise, you have 2 feet very firmly planted in the 18th century, which I submit to you. A few of these men who have said that they were just doing some banter on some ladies, maybe they do have their feet firmly planted in a former century, maybe. Back to Jonathan Swift, he later said about the older meaning of banter, "This polite word of theirs was first borrowed from the bullies in Whitefriars, then fell among the footmen, and at last retired to the pedants, by whom it is applied as properly to the productions of wit as if I should apply it to Sir Isaac Newton's mathematics." So, from bullies to friends, right back to bullies again. Again, it's amazing, isn't it? It's almost as if the world is a complex, nuanced place which cannot be summed up in a black and white argument. Who'd have thunk? Maybe someone should tell the Today programme, or, I don't know, whatever programme it was the other day I was listening to on Radio 4, where they stuck a Daily Mail columnist against a outspoken feminist over this issue. Maybe they should have just had, someone in the middle. Maybe? Amazingly, through sheer accident of the order of contributions, Urban Dictionary comes out on top with this one, with a perfect potted history of the evolution of this word in the modern world. Here are the 7 definitions that they have. 1. Supple, I think they mean subtle. Term used to describe activities or chat that is playful. 2. The magnificent act of using wordplay. 3. A word used to describe teasing or piss-taking which occurs between mates. 4. Verbal sparring that's fundamentally friendly, especially needed to deflate the egos of gloating friends. 5. A conversation that is witty and at the same time abusive. Formerly an in-word, no longer cool due to excessive use by children. Example: what did you do at school today, Timmy?
Banter, lol.
Shut up. 6. A playful joke. 7. A term now applied to what was previously known as conversation by a generation whose aspirations have been systematically lowered to the point that events that occur naturally every day, everywhere are now praised as achievements. There you have it, the death of culture in one word. In other culture, maybe try out this story which I'm going to place just here, or maybe what about this video here which is about another word, or if you press the button on my face you can then do a subscribe. Oh, I forgot to say some other words. I forgot to say Bantosaurus Rex, Archbishop of Banterbury. I apologise. Bye!